The people who owe you the most are the ones most likely to destroy you. Not because they are evil, because you saw them broken. And broken people do not forgive the ones who witnessed their weakness. Every time you look at them, they see the version of themselves they are trying to forget. You become living proof of how far they once fell, and that proof has to be eliminated. This is not betrayal. This is something far colder. This is human psychology, working exactly as it was designed to. Nietzsche warned that the act of saving someone plants a seed of resentment so deep that most people never even realize it is growing, until it is too late. In this video you will learn 6 brutal truths about why your kindness made you a target, and what Nietzsche's warning means for every relationship you are still holding on to right now. Do not leave before point 5, because that point does not just explain what happened to you. It exposes exactly who was never safe to save in the first place. You probably remember the exact moment someone you cared about was drowning, not in water, in debt, in pain, in chaos, in a life that was falling apart at every edge. And you were there. You did not think twice. You stepped in. You sacrificed things you never even told them about: sleep, money, your own peace of mind, your own problems that you quietly pushed aside because theirs felt more urgent. You were not doing it for a reward. You were doing it because that is who you are. Because watching someone suffer when you have the ability to help feels impossible to you. So you helped, fully, completely, without conditions. And for a while, it felt right. They needed you. You were there. That meant something. But then something shifted. Slowly at first, the warmth in their voice changed. The gratitude faded. The closeness you thought you had built started feeling like distance. And one day you realized, this person does not just feel distant. This person feels hostile. The same person you once saved was now the one making your life harder, talking behind your back, undermining you, pulling away and taking people with them. And you were left standing there, completely confused, asking the one question that has no easy answer: what did I do wrong? You did nothing wrong. But your kindness triggered something in them that Nietzsche understood long before you ever could. Point 1. The debt they never asked for. The moment you saved them, you created a debt they never agreed to carry. Think about that. You showed up with everything you had, but nobody asked you to. And in their mind, whether they admit it or not, that debt sits there every single day, heavy, uncomfortable, impossible to repay. Every time they see you, they feel it. That invisible weight of owing someone something they can never fully return. And human beings are not built to carry that weight gracefully. They are built to escape it. So how do they escape a debt they cannot repay? They convince themselves you were never really helping. They rewrite the story. Suddenly your sacrifice becomes manipulation. Your kindness becomes control. Your presence becomes a threat. You did not give them a gift. In their mind, you gave them a cage. Nietzsche called this the psychology of the receiver. The moment receiving too much from someone makes that person feel permanently lesser. And lesser people do not stay grateful. They get dangerous. Here is what nobody warns you about, though. This debt does not just make them resent you quietly. It pushes them toward something far more calculated. Something that has been building in silence since the very first day you helped them. And that is exactly what point 2 exposes. Point 2. The mirror they cannot stand to face. That debt did not just make them uncomfortable. It made you dangerous. Not dangerous like an enemy. Dangerous like a mirror. Every time you walk into the room, they see themselves reflected back. Not the version they show the world. The broken version. The helpless version. The one that was drowning when you found them. And that reflection is unbearable. Think about the people in your life who turned on you. Really think, were they not the ones who you saw at their absolute worst? The ones who cried in front of you? The ones who admitted they had nothing left? The ones who let you see the cracks they hide from everyone else? You thought that vulnerability meant trust. You thought it meant closeness. But for them, it meant exposure, and exposed people do not feel grateful. They feel naked. So they do what every cornered human does. They attack the mirror. Not because you did anything wrong, but because destroying you feels like destroying the evidence. If you are gone, if your opinion of them no longer exists, then maybe that broken version of themselves disappears too. Nietzsche understood this perfectly. He wrote that people do not hate their enemies half as much as they hate the witnesses to their shame. But here is what makes this even darker. The attack never comes openly. It never announces itself. It builds in complete silence, in a place you would never think to look. That is what point 3 will show you. Point 3. The resentment that grew while you were still giving. They did not turn on you after you stopped helping. They turned on you while you were still there. That is the part that breaks people. You were not absent. You were not selfish. You were not the villain in any version of this story. You were still showing up, still giving, still believing in someone who was already building a case against you in silence. Because resentment does not wait for a reason. It does not need one. It grows in the gap between what they feel they owe you and what they are capable of giving back. And every single time you helped them, that gap got wider. Every sacrifice you made added another layer to something they could not name but could deeply feel. You ever notice how they started pulling away right when things got better for them? Not when they were at their lowest, but when they finally had something to stand on, when they no longer needed you. That was not coincidence. That was the resentment finally finding its exit. Nietzsche called this ressentiment, not just anger, but a slow poison that builds inside people who feel powerless. And the person who helped them, the person who witnessed their powerlessness, becomes the first target when that poison needs somewhere to go. But what you still do not know is this: the resentment was never really about you. It was about something they lost the moment you saved them, something they can never get back. And point 4 exposes exactly what that something is. Point 4. The power you accidentally took from them. You never meant to take anything, but you did. The moment you stepped in and saved them, you took away the one thing every human being needs more than help: the chance to save themselves. Think about what that means. Deep inside every person lives a story they tell about who they are. Strong, capable, someone who can handle what life throws at them. That story is not just an idea. It is the foundation of everything: their confidence, their identity, their sense of self, and you accidentally destroyed it. Not with cruelty, with kindness. You showed up so completely, so fully, so selflessly, that you left them no room to rise on their own. And a person who never gets to rise on their own never gets to feel like they are enough. They just feel like someone who needed rescuing. Every time they look at you, they are reminded of that they were not enough, that without you they would have fallen. And that reminder does not inspire gratitude. It inspires a need to prove you wrong. So they push you away, they undermine you. They try to show the world and themselves that they never really needed you, that they are fine without you, that maybe you were even the problem all along. Nietzsche warned that robbing someone of their struggle is robbing them of their growth. And people who are robbed, even by someone who loves them, will eventually come back to collect. But none of this is the darkest part. The darkest part is what was already decided long before you ever saw it coming. Point 5 will show you exactly when this was always going to end this way. Point 5. The destruction was never sudden. It was always the plan. You thought it happened overnight. It did not. Every cold reply, every subtle distance, every moment they made you feel like you were asking for too much by simply existing in their life. None of that was accidental. None of that was confusion. That was a slow and deliberate dismantling of everything you represented to them. And here is the part that will sit with you long after this video ends. They were planning this exit while you were still sacrificing, while you were still choosing them, while you were still defending them to people who tried to warn you. They were already building the version of the story where you were the problem, where you were the one who made things hard, where your kindness was actually control and your loyalty was actually possession. They needed that story, because without it, they were just someone who destroyed a person who loved them. And that is too heavy to carry, so they rewrote it, slowly, carefully, until even they believed it. You have probably already felt this. That moment when you realized they had been telling people a version of you that you did not recognize. A version that made your sacrifice look like selfishness, your presence look like pressure, your love look like a leash. That was not confusion, that was construction. Nietzsche said that the most dangerous human act is the rewriting of history by those who cannot face their own weakness. And what they rewrote was you. But here is what that rewriting could never touch. Here is what they could never take from you, no matter how carefully they constructed their story. Point 6 carries the one truth that puts everything back in your hands.